So I just thought I'd make a quick video and comment on sort of the process of being a truth seeker and being I guess like a conspiracy theorist. So I just want to tell you my experience or my story. Maybe some people that aren't into it can relate a little bit more with it from hearing what I went through. So first you start off getting into some deep research. You start getting into conspiracy theories. You start doing your own research, and then you start finding little bits of truth. This is what happened to me. I started finding little bits of truth. Then I started finding some wild conspiracy theories that sounded way too out there. No way that could be true. And a couple of them maybe stick and some don't. So you're sort of in this perpetual, well, what's real, what's not, what's true, what's not. Then I sort of got my teeth into a big piece of truth, piece of hidden knowledge or truth in plain sight, right? And then you start doing all this deep research and it sort of shocks you. This is what happened to me. It shocked me. And then I thought to myself, my God, I got to tell all my friends this. But then I went, no, wait. If this is wrong, and I go and I tell all my friends this and my family, I'm going to be perpetuating a deception. I'm going to be sharing a lie with them. So I double down and I do another year of research, looking for all the information I can, looking for all the videos I can, analyzing them, going through all this stuff, right? Till I get to a point where I'm like, man, I'm onto something. I'm really onto something here. So then I start to share that. So this is like 3 years into conspiracy theory. I'm calling it conspiracy theory stuff, but it's more like truth movement. I went through admiralty law, went through common law, got super deep into the legal system, got super deep into how finance works, got super deep into banking. So you sort of go down these rabbit holes, right? Which are sort of interlocked, but not always, right? This is what I did, okay? And then I finally got to a point where I'm like, I'm going to share this. I'm going to start telling my friends and family. Then you start telling friends and family, and they spit venom at you, and they go, you're crazy, you're a lunatic. You need to recenter yourself. You're just picking up all this crap from the internet. Now, I don't know if any other people that have gotten into the truth movement and, free thinkers and stuff have experienced the same thing. But basically you get knocked down and ridiculed, okay? So then I got ridiculed, and then I said, fine, you know what? They're not worthy of this truth. I'm going to keep this hidden truth to myself. In fact, they're not interested in it. They don't want to do the research. I'm going to keep this to me. And then I became very sort of possessive of the knowledge I had, almost like Smeagol and the Ring. I became almost like a hermit. And I started getting deeper and deeper. And I said to myself, I don't care if nobody else understands this stuff. I'm going to get deeper and deeper and deeper. So you sort of go into this echo chamber where you're discovering something nobody else can really understand or get it, let's call it. No one else sort of gets it, or they're on your vibe. They're not vibing it. They're not on your wavelength. So then I started to learn and learn and learn and sort of pride myself in how much more I knew than everybody else and how much I could use this hidden knowledge. And I got into all the the mysticism, the symbolism. You start to get, and it's almost like I understand this and no one else does, and I'm special. Right? So I went through that phase. And then you sort of get hit with a second wave of, this is what happened to me. I got hit with a second wave of, I'm breaking these sort of truths down so simply and so clearly and so logically. And I'm doing these mind maps and I'm piecing all this stuff together. I can see it so clearly now. Surely if I showed this to somebody, they wouldn't call me a fool, or they wouldn't call me a crazy, sort of alternative knowledge, tinfoil hat, right? So then I make this simplified template that's so simple, black and white. 1 + 1 is 2. I go, you see how this is credit, this is where debt comes from, and can you see how the debt cancels out the credit, and the credit cancels out debt, and money is debt? Like I draw a simple diagram. Show it to somebody who's intelligent. They've got a high IQ. They're proficient in their field, and they look at it and you realize that it's going way over their head, and they still think you're crazy, right? This is sort of the fourth phase of my journey, where I thought to myself, no, if I break this down simply enough, surely people will get it, which I did. So I spent 5 years doing all this deep research, break down these, make graphs, make charts, make drawings, and I showed it to a good friend of mine who's very smart, very intelligent, and it was either a blank stare or, yeah, but what are you going to do with that, or how does that, just some response that was super generic and super, I would say, sort of programmed, like, yeah, but how does that make you money? Or how are you going to use that? Like, what's, whatever. And you think, geez, I've spent 5 years and that's the response I get. And then you realize, oh, hang on. The mainstream society and most people in the public are somewhat delusional. They're almost brainwashed and delusional. And then you go, wait a second, I've been on this journey for 5 years. I can't expect someone else to get it. So that was sort of my second attempt at sharing stuff that I was getting into in the truth movement. I'm sure some of you guys in the truth movement have experienced similar stories where you're trying to share, or you're trying to bounce ideas off other people, or you're trying to get other people to analyze something to get their feedback. Like, am I crazy, or do you not see this? And they just give you a blank stare, or they're completely not there. And the information just sort of goes right over their heads, right? So then I went back into my cave and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to use all this knowledge and information. I'm going to make them into tools. I'm going to use them as weapons. And I'm basically going to, carve my own destiny out with these tools of knowledge I've learned. And then as you do that, in sort of a selfish sense, I thought I'll just keep leveling up myself until I'm so wise and so smart. I'll be like a wizard, I'll be like Gandalf. And then you reach a sort of a lonely, desolate place where you realize it's very lonely at these higher tiers of knowledge and research. You sort of know all this stuff about the world, and you know all this stuff about the way the system works, and you know all this stuff, and you realize, like, okay, there's probably another 5 or 6 people that I can converse with in the world about this stuff.